Well, it's that time of year. For anyone that lives in colder climates, you know, as winter comes along, our gas-powered equipment that we use in the summer is going to need a little attention before putting away in storage. Does that mean everybody does these steps? No, probably a lot of people don't. I like to winterize all my gas-powered equipment for storage during the winter to ensure smooth operation once the springtime comes. And I'm going to go over the steps that I take on this particular leaf blower, but it's very applicable to most of your gas-powered small equipment. And what I do to ensure that storage throughout the winter does not cause any issues and I have smooth operation come the springtime. Let's look at the first step of what we're going to want to do. We're going to want to remove all the fuel in the fuel tank of the equipment out of the machine. One big recommendation I give is always put fuel stabilizer in your fuel throughout the season when you're operating the equipment, but I would still highly recommend taking that fuel out come storage time. So get yourself your fuel container. On most equipment, you're going to have your screw-on cap that you're going to remove. To make life easy on a lot of the smaller equipment, you could actually remove this cap completely. It's just held in with a little plastic cable with a piece like that bends, that allows you to pull it out. And that's then going to allow us to tilt the machine and pour the remaining fuel into our fuel tank as such. With all the fuel out of the equipment, we could go ahead and put our cap back in. If you did remove it completely, you just bend the little expansion plastic at the end, push it back in, and then screw your cap back on. So all the fuel has been removed from the fuel tank, but there's still going to be some excess fuel left over in the carburetor, specifically the carburetor bowl that we're going to want to get out. Now you could dismantle the carburetor, removing its bowl to drain it, or we could just start the equipment and run it, and the remaining fuel that's in the carburetor and the lines will burn out and the machine will eventually stall. So that's the step we're going to want to take. Start the machine, let it run until it completely stalls out, and then we're pretty safe to say that any remaining fuel in the fuel system has been burnt off and nothing will be left there. Now, why do you want to do that? Even though we added stable to our fuel, there is still a good chance that the fuel could go bad and what we call varnishing, and it'll gum up or block up the carburetor, which will definitely make it much harder to start come the springtime. Also, for those of you who are not using ethanol-free gas, but you're using ethanol blended, the ethanol is not very good for the internal rubber components of the carburetor and of the machine, and through storage can definitely wear down those components, causing issues come the next season. So I'm going to go ahead and start this up and allow it to run until it stalls out and dies. So we ran the machine, it stalled on its own. You could even, if you saw what I did there, I was pushing the priming bulb to get just whatever little fuel is left in that line to burn off. So now our fuel has all been burnt off. We're going to be looking at the next step. Our next step is to remove the spark plug cable, because we're going to want to remove the spark plug. And once I get it removed, I'm going to explain why. Sometimes to get these cables off, it's a very tight fitting spot. You might have a hard time with your fingers pulling it off. So you could use your spark plug removal tool. If you look at one end, it has a flat blade screwdriver. You could get it under the boot and you could pop the cable off of the spark plug as such. And now our spark plug cable is off, allowing us access to get the spark plug off. To get the spark plug off, we're going to use that same tool. You're going to pick the appropriate size depending on the spark plug you have. And we're going to go counterclockwise and loosen the spark plug. Once it's loosened with the tool, we can turn it and by hand and get it off. One thing I will say, and in the process of editing didn't show, We did allow the equipment to run, so therefore the spark plug is going to be hot, the motor is going to be hot. You'll definitely want to let it cool down before you remove the spark plug. Number one, so you don't burn yourself, but number two, it is aluminum. We don't want to cause any damage to those threads. So spark plug removed. At this time, we could inspect the spark plug, looking at the electrode and making sure there's no fouling. You could take a soft nylon brush and clean it off to clean any of the corrosion or carbon that's been built up on it. But what I like to do is every second season, I like to put in a new spark plug. So spark plug removed, let's look at the next step that we're going to take. For the next step, we're going to want to put some engine storage spray. So what is this? It's basically an oil or a lubricant. And we're going to spray it into the spark plug hole, so into the cylinder. And what this does is it lubricates the cylinder walls, the piston and piston rings. Because it's going to be sitting for multiple months during the winter, we don't want any components to seize up or corrode. So what you're going to do with this engine spray or fogger is you're going to put it into the spark plug hole and you're going to spray. Once you put in a generous amount into the cylinder, you're going to take your starting cable and you're going to gently turn the engine over. And what that's going to do is, you can even hear it, it's going to move the piston up and down. So all that oil, that storage oil that we put inside is going to lubricate those sidewalls and the rings. So pull it about 5 times. And then what I like to do is just put one more spray inside without pulling, as such. And we're just going to leave it. Next, we're going to be putting the spark plug back in. So it'll be reversal of what we did to take it out. To thread it in, always start with your hands to make sure you're not cross-threading. Our hands, we could then take our spark plug tool and we could start tightening it down. Now the trick is you don't want to over tighten. Once again, it's an aluminum threads that could easily be stripped out if we over tighten that spark plug. So you're just going to want to make it snug. As such. Then we're going to want to put our cable back on, making sure our little spring that makes the connection is in its place. And we're going to push down and on. Of course, now what we're going to want to do is just tidy up the equipment. Give it a wipe down, clean it, any dirt or dust that's been accumulated. Additional maintenance items, we want to check the filter. So on most of them, you're going to have an air filter. On this particular Husqvarna, there's a thumb screw that we untighten or loosen. It allows us to remove the cover, which exposes the filter. And you're going to want to give this a shake off, so remove any of the dust off the filter. But depending on how dirty it is, it's a changeable or replaceable item. So you're going to want to replace if it's overly dirty. Well guys, there you have it. How to prep a small engine, in this particular case, a leaf blower, for winter storage. Taking these steps when you put it away for the season will definitely ensure smooth operation come springtime. There's nothing worse than when spring comes and you're ready to go do some outdoor work and your equipment won't start up and now you have to take care of that headache. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll see you in the next video.